Hey guys, in this tutorial, I'm going to walk you through how to sketch and then ink a rose. And there's so many different ways that you can do a rose. So I'm just going to pull in one of the how to draw roses from Pinterest. And what I've done is I went to the wrench and I'm actually going to turn on a reference, select image, and I'm going to import this little step-by-step how to draw a rose. Just going to move it a little bit over here out of the way. So I have my regular clean layer and I'm going to use my Procreate pencil first because I want to sketch this and then I'll go back in and add the ink. So first things that it tells us to do is to draw a spiral. So I'm going to do that. And then it says you can go ahead and start adding your petals. So I tend to not connect them because we're doing designs to where I don't need to connect them because maybe this is for like a t-shirt design and we're going to do some florals. So I went ahead and I added some petals, and then it just says to continue to draw petals, right? So this is how I'm going to do it because I want my outer layer of petals to connect so that I can do like a drag and drop feel for this. Okay, so I have a very loose rose here. And this is all going to depend on what type of artist you are, what type of designs you do, how detailed, how simple, how cartoonish. There's so many different ways to draw these. But this is just a good basic way to do it. And then I'm going to go ahead and add a layer over my sketch. I'm going to go down to my ink 3 brush because that is my favorite and I use it for everything. Go ahead and select it and make sure I'm on a new layer. And that's when you can go in and you can ink it. So I'm actually going to add a little bit of extra to the swirl. And like I said, I like to not touch it until the outer portions. So I like to do my flowers and my roses and things to where it is just like an accent. And then at the very edge for the last part, I go in and I add. Okay. So now I have somewhat of a rose. I kind of want to do this part again because it did a little weird. That I went too far in, if that makes any sense. Okay. Hmm, I'm just gonna have to get the whole part of that off. Try There we go. Okay. So now I have my rose, and if there's something in the rose that you don't particularly like, as in like you don't like where the spacing is, so I kind of want to move this part. I just do my selection tool, go freehand, and make sure that the color fill is not on. And I go around it, and then I can click my selection tool and I can move them. So, like if I want to move this petal or warp it extra, then you can move it. And then once you've done your rows, what I would do is then I go under my inked layer. I want to make the ink layer a reference layer. And I'm going to go ahead and add a red color. I'm going to drag it. You see how it's very fuzzy on the edges? So what you would do in order to completely fill this is when you drag and you hold, you actually swipe to the right and turn the threshold up. And then I do it again. Because I wanted to fully fill my edges without filling the canvas like that. And then you can also duplicate your black layer and you see how it's getting rid of some of the pixels that way. And then I'm going to turn my sketch layer off. And then you can go in and add like a gradient on this if you want to. I'll just show you guys how to do that. I'm going to go to a lighter red. I'm still going to use my ink 3 and I can go ahead and get rid of my reference layer. So then what I am gonna do is I've got my ink 3 and I'm gonna go like you would naturally with a rose and go inside the petals here. So I'm going to follow my curves, but I want to be further in instead of being too close to the outline. So once I do that, I can go ahead and Gaussian blur that just a little bit, not too much. And then I want to do another one. So I'm going to go even brighter, do a clipping mask, and I'm going to go inside that part. So I'm going to go to the very edge. Okay. And then I'm just going to Gaussian blur it again. That way you still have a glow, but it's not too precise. And then if you didn't blur it enough, you can go in and add a little bit extra. I think that's a pretty good blur though. So yes, that is how you draw a rose. And like I said, I always tend to start with a sketch of what I want it to look like. And then I go back in and I do all of my drawing after that. So I hope that this helps. Please let me know if you have any more questions. And I am super excited to see what kind of flowers you make.